All right, everyone. I've made no secret about the fact I'm not really a Betsy DeVos fan. The educational system in this country, by the way, could largely be fixed just by getting the Department of Education and the federal government out of education altogether. Like, fuck Common Core and no child left and all of these other things. We don't really need them. What we need is to return education to the states. It's like the states are more able to address generally the issues within education for their own states, for their own populations. Townships and municipalities should do the same. Federal funding to schools, okay, that's fine. The problem is we've got too much top-down control. It's getting inefficient, legalistic, and more like a European-style educational system. Our educational system was the gem of the world of academia until we started doing that. Things were way better generally beforehand. There were always areas where educational levels were a lot lower. That should have been addressed at the state level largely. It should have been addressed by kicking out all the corrupt administrators and ineffective teachers and getting new ones that were able to do their job and giving them the money that was proper, instead of taking those same corrupt individuals, just handing them more money so that they could go squander it on building another stadium or some nonsense like that. So I'm not a big fan of Betsy DeVos. She still represents that federal educational control. But hearing Joe Biden ramble about her desire to reform or alter or, as you may call it, denigrate the sort of policies that were put into place under Obama for campus sexual assault, rape, and so forth. Hearing that is surreal. Have you seen footage of Joe Biden's interactions with females over time? It doesn't seem that age really bothers him. It appears that he has some, let's say, maybe dubious interactions with the female sex. And it's a little creepy. He's gotten the moniker of Creepy Joe or Uncle Biden or something like that because of this. It is creepy. And it's not, if it were one case, it'd be like, okay, you get a little too touchy-feely with this senator's wife, but ultimately, who cares? Maybe he's just being friendly or something. No, we've got dozens of examples of him doing this, and he's complaining about sexual assault. He's making people, quite obviously, if we just look at the reactions on their faces, feel uncomfortable on a regular basis. Now, we could chalk this up to he's sort of like a Lyndon Johnson or something. Johnson liked to do that. He liked to be very close to people. He'd hug them tight, shake their hand really firmly. It was sort of a power play, sort of a way of showing physical and political dominance over others. But Johnson did that to dudes too. Like he'd lean somebody up against the wall to talk to them and just be standing over them like this, like, "Oh, my son, talk to me. I'm your superior." Or something. Biden doesn't do that. Biden seems very demure when it comes to his interactions with like Obama or somebody like that. And his relationship with Obama, is it just for the cameras, or were they really like, in a bromance or something? Who knows? And ultimately, who cares? A little bit of the cult of personality going on there. But hearing Biden complain about DeVos remarks on campus sexual assault or something is just it's maddening. Would you want Joe Biden would you want him hanging out with your girlfriend or something like that? Probably not. Have a good time with Joe at the bowling alley. I'm sure that's the only ball he'll be playing with. Yeah. Okay, I made myself crack up a little bit with that one. No, Joe Biden is not exactly the best possible individual to address this issue. Obama could address it because, it was his era of policy making. He'd come out and say, well, this is a bad idea. And by the way, I'm not unreceptive to the idea of protecting people from being assaulted on our campuses. Whether it's high school, college, wherever it is, people should. It violates the NAP. You should leave people alone. From a satanic perspective, don't make advances on someone unless you're being given the signal that it's okay. It's okay to tentatively flirt with somebody, but if they're not receptive, leave them the hell alone. And we've got a problem in our culture where people, not just males, sometimes females do this too, are too pushy in a sexual manner. Honestly, that's definitely true. But having Joe Biden be the one to address this, why did the Democrats decide to drag him out to talk about, what was it, Article or Amendment 9 or whatever it is, Section 9? Why? Why Joe Biden? Why not a female? Somebody at least you'd be taken more seriously by people on the left. Joe Biden does not have a great track record on such issues. No, you drag Joe Biden out to talk about some minutia aspect of foreign policy or something along those lines, or you drag him out to talk about taxation or healthcare, on which he's more sane, by the way, than the progressives are. That's what you have Joe Biden do. And by the way, he might make a major verbal gaffe anyway while doing so. But his interactions with females they creep people out. Honestly, over time. Just look it up. Just look up creepy Joe Biden or something like that. You'll find dozens of examples of this. It's not one case. If it were just one or two, then people might say, okay, well, Joe Biden gets a little bit touchy. Maybe he was tipsy at the time or something. Okay, is he tipsy all of the time? Because it certainly seems like he always wants to have his hands on some girl's shoulders during photo ops. He's squishing him and stuff. He's like, he's leaning in for a kiss. Oh, kiss Uncle Joe or something like that. It's like a dirty old man, basically, or something like that. It's big. There's no other way to put it. If this weren't Joe Biden, wouldn't people on the left find this a little bit weird? If this were some right-wing pundit or something, if this were somebody working at Fox, you'd be clamoring for them to be fired if they continually interacted with females the way Joe Biden appears physically to interact with them. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you find that a little strange? And again, you'd call for them to be like, oh, that's creepy. At the very least, why don't we investigate? Pressure the advertisers, get him kicked out because it's just too creepy for us. But it's Joe Biden, the one that has some sort of weird relationship with Obama, so he's beyond reproach. No, I find him to be creepy. Right up there with Bill O'Reilly or somebody like that. But he's the former VP, so you're never going to hear about all of his maybe weird interpersonal interactions with people. And people for a while there didn't want to criticize Biden because he lost his son, which is very sad. But at some point, you have to let that fact go. Just look at him as a politician and judge for yourself whether he's really the one qualified to talk about this issue. There are plenty of people in the Democratic Party that could credibly come out and say, well, we disagree with this year's X, Y, and Z. These are the reasons why. That would make sense. That'd have a good public reaction. Instead, you don't even have to address your fundamental feelings on campus survivors networks and sexual assault themselves. You just have to default to saying, but Joe Biden is certainly not the one that should be remarking on this. The fact that it's taken seriously and reported on seriously by the legacy media, which it is also very strange considering his interactions over time with females. Now, I'm not alleging anything criminal in this case, but I am alleging it is weird. It is creepy the way that he interacts with other people, as long as they have 2 X chromosomes. Again, he doesn't do that. He's not like Lyndon Johnson doing it indiscriminately, basically physically stalking anybody in proximity or pulling down his pants, which Lyndon Johnson apparently at one point actually did while he was president of the United States to show people why he was in charge. In his own words, no, this is why I'm the president. This is why I make the decisions. Something like that. Okay, maybe he doesn't take it to quite that level. Let's hope not. But the footage tells a different story of Benevolent Joe or Chucklehead Joe. And I think that needs to be taken into some consideration. You'd think so, since if a person makes even an off-color, vaguely sexist joke, the immediate reaction by the left is usually they're a rapist, toxic masculinity, evil person, should never work again, absolutely never be in a college, should probably be put in jail. Are you going to extend that logic to Joe Biden, considering the footage easily found of his interactions with females, or are you going to chalk it up to he's just a cuddly dude or something like that? Now, I think it's way creepier than anything that you'd expect from Ted Nugent or Mel Gibson or something like that. That's about all. Peace out.